Hello, I'm Earl Wilson. In this segment, we're going to talk about embracing the process, and that is embracing the process of recovery because that's the emphasis. I want to share with you some of the feelings that I had and some of the activities that were involved in that embracing the process for me. When I would return from seeing Dr. McIver, I would often reflect on what's he trying to do, how's he trying to help me, but I'd also reflect on what do I need to do? In other words, what changes do I need to make? My perceptions of myself were changing drastically because I'd realized that so many of the things that I'd told myself were not the truth, that I would lie, and there were continually thinking errors that were dominating my life, and I wasn't even aware of those because I shut them out of my mind. So the process for me changed from wanting to get beyond what I had done to really wanting to change. And I began to see the spiritual care team and Dr. McIver and my friends as those who could provide me with help. They became resources. I remember a particular friend, Dale, that asked me questions, and I suddenly realized talking to him is a resource. Talking to him and seeing his clear thinking on some of the things that I've done is a real help to me. So that was a part of embracing the process, is when I realized the process that I'm embracing is a process of change. And that became an exciting kind of thing. The meetings were still scary. It was still difficult when I'd wake up in the morning and think, oh, I need to go see Dr. McIver again today. That'd be scary. Or when I'd say we're going to meet, spiritual care team will be here in an hour to meet with us, that'd be scary. But I knew that some good things could happen about it, or come out of it, I should have said. The other thing that I was dealing with at the time was the process of realizing that I was losing a lot of my old certainties, things that had been very important to me in the past and that I was hanging my hat on, if you will, weren't going to be there anymore. And even though Sandy had given me a year, our relationship had changed because she no longer had love feelings for me. And it was very difficult. At times I was very, very lonely. And in typical fashion, I'd want her to make me feel better. But I realized that that's what I'd use pornography for, was to make me feel better. And I didn't need to learn how to feel better. I need to learn how to be better. I needed to learn how to live with myself and with God and with those around me in a way that was satisfying, rather than just to go through the process of daily adrenaline rushes that had become so much a part of my life. With the loss of old certainties, I came to a place of realizing that loss of old certainties is very often an opportunity for expression of faith. Because when you can no longer trust in yourself and what you've done, and you no longer can view your wife in the same way as the person that's always going to bail me out or whatever, and you no longer can rely on the relationship with your children because you don't know whether they'll be able to forgive you or not. You've dealt them a near-death blow, and now you realize that could be gone. So trusting God became a reality in my life in a way that had never been before. And I think this was extremely important in the process. The other thing that I had to embrace was the fact that telling the truth was always going to be a part of the process. At first, I hadn't wanted anybody to know, and I certainly hadn't wanted anybody to know the whole truth. And yet, day after day, I would meet people we decided early on that there were some people that I shared ministry with that I needed to go and confess to them personally. And so we went to St. Louis and talked to some dear friends there. Went to Colorado Springs and talked to some dear friends there. Talked to many of our friends locally. Some of them, it was almost too much for them to hear. But others of them really said, we're here for you. We don't know how, but we want to be there for you. So being honest with myself, and there's something about telling the truth that doesn't get emphasized all the time that I want to share now. And that is that when you tell the truth on a daily basis, it helps you to keep from going back into denial. Because the truth is, my name is Earl Wilson and I did these things. The truth is not, well, I've done a little bit of bad stuff, but not much. So the truth was extremely important. Just a week or so ago, one of my other friends said to me, you know, it was hard for me at first because you were constantly talking about what you'd done. And he said, I couldn't figure that out because what you'd done was shameful. And so I said to him, you know, I know it was shameful, and I know, but I also know that I had to keep reminding myself that I not only was capable of doing those things, but I did do those things. And each time I would tell my story, I would remind myself, I don't ever want to go back there again. And so the truth-telling and the allowing a person to see all of you, I always tell my clients, you don't have to lead with your leprosy, but you need to be telling the truth. You need to not lie. You not need to minimize. You not need to continue on the same thinking errors that you've used to cover up all that you've done. So a part of embracing the process is being willing to still be that person, but to also in your heart realize I am that person, but I am also a person that's experiencing a transformation. Someone asked me, how did you get through the shame? And I think as I've thought about that I got through the shame when I was able to say to myself, I'm not doing that anymore. And that helped me to realize, yes, my behavior in the past was shameful. It's also forgiven. But I want to remind myself on a daily basis that going back there isn't an option for me, and I don't want to be there. I want to embrace a process of continually changing and seeing what God wants to do in my life.